Welcome to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette, with your host Steve Garrett, MC and DJ at one of the largest Corvette weekends in the country, Corvette Fun Fest, president of the Corvette Club of Kansas City, Missouri, and radio disc jockey at the #1 radio station in Kansas City for over 40 years. Here's Steve Garrett.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. Brought to you by Mid-America Motorworks. Car show season is here. Get your Corvette ready by shopping over 60,000 Corvette-specific parts and accessories at mamotorworks.com. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. I appreciate you tuning in. You can listen to Corvette Today on all podcast platforms. You can also listen on your smart device. Just say Alexa or Hey Google, play the podcast called Corvette Today, and you're connected. Also, visit the Corvette Today website. It's CorvetteTodayPodcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you visit the Corvette Today merchandise store. You can also sign up for Corvette Today emails, notifications, and updates at corvettetoday.ck.page. And don't forget, join the Corvette Today Facebook group. We have over 3,600 members, and I'd love to have you as a member as well. And don't forget about the YouTube channel now for Corvette Today. See all your favorite Corvette Today podcasts now on YouTube. First, I'd like to thank our flagship sponsors of Corvette Today, Aerolarri Wheels, a true forged wheel with over 20 unique design styles to choose from for your C8 and wide-body versions of the C7, C6, and C5 Corvette. It's an absurd value starting at only $19.88 for a set of 4 fully forged wheels. And now use the new promo code CT111. That's CT111 and get $100 off your purchase. Visit aerolarri.com. That's AEROLARRI.com with the new promo code CT111 for your $100 discount. Also, midenginecorvetteforum.com, the forum that focuses on the new mid-engine C8 Corvette. Meet a lot of fellow Corvette enthusiasts like yourself at midenginecorvetteforum.com. Also, a shout out to CanadianCorvetteForum.com, welcoming Corvette owners from around the world. All right, it's time to get the latest Corvette news and headlines with my buddy Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. Keith is here every other week to keep you current and up to date on what's happening with America's sports car. Keith, welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very good, Steve. How's it going?
Everything is going great. We've got a lot of news to cover today, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about Corvette production there at the Bowling Green Assembly Plant.
Sounds good, Steve. Yeah, well, we've had a shutdown a couple weeks back, but since then, the production numbers look very good. Today, Monday being the 16th, we are looking at the startup of the 2023 model year for the Corvette Stingrays. So that's pretty exciting. We'll see some new things coming down the line there. Don't quite have the correct count on what the total Corvette production numbers are for the 2022s yet. We did see a couple different numbers out of the batch, so we're waiting on the final confirmation, which hopefully will come out this week.
That sounds good. And it was so cool to see that hardtop convertibles are almost half of the Corvette orders now.
Yeah, we got some great numbers coming out of the NCM Bash with the Corvette production team talking with us. It's an amazing number. They now count for 48% of orders, 48.52 for the coupe, and it's the highest it's been since 1968 is the number of convertibles that we've had in a model year. A pretty amazing number. Convertible orders are more likely to be loaded. We see 52% of convertible orders with the 3LT trim package versus 45% of coupe buyers going with the 2LT trim package. Just some amazing number there for the convertible. And again, people, they like the great looks, the one touch. 16 seconds later, you got the open sky above you, and there's no loss of any storage space or any other considerations or trade-offs. So yeah, the convertible orders are doing very well. A couple other stats we got from the NCM Bash. NPP exhaust, the performance exhaust, is probably one of the highest optional options. Can you say that, Steve? Optional options. It's one of the optional options chosen. 87% on cars. People know that they can get that 5 extra horsepower boost if they don't have the Z51. If you do order Z51, it's included. Speaking of Z51, the Z51 plus MagRide, the FE4 suspension, accounts for 48% of all Corvette orders. And then a couple rarities. Corvettes with the EFY body color trim, only 6% of orders. And Corvettes with the chrome badges, I thought this was kind of surprising, only 5% of cars. So everybody's going with the black badges, black wheels, you've got the black trim. That's how people are outfitting their cars.
Everybody's getting away from chrome, it sounds like, Keith.
I know. I guess I am showing my age, huh?
You and me both, buddy. That's for sure. What were the most popular colors for 2022?
We always think red, black, and white, and we were close. They ended up being torch red, white, and hypersonic gray were the top 3 colors. And in fact, the hypersonic gray just edged out red mist, I think, by like 23 cars. So you can thank the C8R edition for boosting hypersonic gray to that level. On the flip side, silver flare and caffeine were at the bottom. Caffeine only had 385 cars produced, and as a comparison, Zeus Bronze in 2021 had 509. So a few more. It looks like the Zeus Bronze, people did like that color just a little bit better, but the caffeines are fairly rare out there. It'd be interesting to see what they do in their second year of production. My guess is they'll do even less than the 385, but that's just my guess.
Probably.
Interior-wise, jet black, nearly a third with 29% of Corvette colors, followed by adrenaline red at 26%, natural at 11%, and the sky cool gray at 10%. Now that I've got your attention, Steve, I'm going to quiz you on something, and I'm going to ask you what you think is the most chosen color combo for the 2022 model year.
I would say it would probably be torch red with the tan interior.
You would be incorrect. The most chosen color combo on 2022 Corvettes is Arctic white with the adrenaline red interior. So very traditional white with red interior. There was 1,817 Corvettes with that combo. I think the next combination was the torch red with the adrenaline red interior, followed by torch red with the black interior. Those were like 1,600 Corvettes each. So yeah, people like the new colors. It's surprising to see the hypersonic gray up there so high, but red mist, people just really love that red mist as well.
It's a great color, buddy. You were talking about the C8R. I noticed that we had a breakdown in the IMSA GTLM Championship Edition C8 Corvettes, didn't we?
Yeah, these were the first special editions of the C8 generation, and it was pretty exciting. We had 1,000 cars produced, but it took until the end of the production to really get the breakdown. There's 4 configurations available. There was the number 3 car in the Accelerate Yellow, and again, you could choose Cooper Convertible, or the number 4 car in Hypersonic Gray. We had 346 total yellow Corvettes produced, 171 coupes, 175 convertibles, and that only makes up 34%. So 2 out of 3 buyers of the IMSA GTLM C8R editions chose the hypersonic gray. We had 300 coupes, 365 convertibles for 665 total. Pretty cool there. We do have a couple numbers we're still waiting on. We'd like to see what the export counts are. We know that a certain amount of cars did go to Canada, and we had heard late in production that they were sending up to 12 down to Mexico. Once we get the final 2022 stats, we will hopefully see those numbers explained a little bit more there.
That sounds good. Also, I was surprised to see we already have wheel constraints on the 70th anniversary models coming out.
Yeah, this is one of these hiccups. One of the things that Chevy was touting was that when Stingray production starts in May, that we will see the 70th anniversaries, because these are a special edition. They're not limited, so anybody can order one. They're not like the C8Rs where only 1,000 were produced. They want to make as many as possible. We'll probably see quite a bit of them, but unfortunately it doesn't look like they're going to start in May because of those Q9A wheels. Those with the red stripe on them are on a short constraint, so hopefully we'll see them pick up in early June.
That sounds good, buddy. Let's take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Corvette Racing and Corvette rumors here on Corvette Today.
The Radiator Grill Store offers protection for your C8's front radiators and side intakes. They also carry front strut tower covers to prevent rusting and pooling water, all with do-it-yourself installation. Get 10% off your total purchase with promo code CT10. See the full line of products at radiatorgrillstore.com.
Mid-America Motorworks has been the industry leader and aftermarket supplier and manufacturer of Corvette replacement parts and accessories since 1974. We have what you need for all years and generations of Corvette. Whether you need a door panel or seat cover for your C1 Corvette, or the latest shirt, jacket, hat, or lifestyle accessory to complement your new C8, you can get it at Mid-America Motorworks. So if you're restoring, repairing, replacing, or simply researching your Corvette, Mid-America Motorworks is the place to go. Visit our website at mamotorworks.com and shop Corvettes by generation or specific year. Or call us Monday through Saturday, toll-free at 800-500-1500 and talk to one of our Corvette experts to help you get the right part or accessory. Pursue your passion with Mid-America Motorworks.
VetteFinders.com is the Internet's original Corvette classified ads website, with classified ads starting at just $25. And every ad runs until your Corvette is sold. If you're in the market for a Corvette, VetteFinders.com has over 500 Corvettes for sale from all around the USA and Canada, and covering all 8 generations. Visit VetteFinders.com, the Internet's destination for buying and selling Corvettes. That's VETTE Finders.com.
This is the Corvette Today podcast with Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks for listening and viewing Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. Brought to you by Mid-America Motorworks. Car show season is here. Get your Corvette ready by shopping over 60,000 Corvette-specific parts and accessories at mamotorworks.com. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me every other week is Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. We keep you current and up to date on what's happening with America's sports car. In this section, we're going to talk about Corvette racing and Corvette rumors. First off, in racing, Keith, it was a tough outing for the number 64 car at Spa.
Yeah, this was a race to watch. Speaking of which, I'll say right now, if you want to watch the 24 Hours of Le Mans, it's worth it just to spend the $5 and get the Motor Trend app. Motor Trend covers it from green flag to checkered flag. That's how I ended up watching the race at Spa, was through the Motor Trend app. Here's the thing, Steve. With the split schedule and Corvette Racing now racing in both IMSA and in the World Endurance Championship, the benefit to Corvette Racing fans is we get twice as many races to watch. That's really been dawning on me here as I was watching that 6-hour race at Spa, thinking this is a racetrack that we've only seen one time before, which Corvette Racing ran last year. So it's really been fun, I think. I really hope Corvette Racing fans, they're following the number 64 car with Tommy and Nick Tandy over there as well. Yeah, it was a tough race. Racing at Spa is that the weather can turn at any moment. And unfortunately, it did. It ended up being a really bad racing day with rain. In fact, they had 3 stoppages with the red flags. There was less than 3 hours of green flag racing in that 6-hour race. So it was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But we did end up 4th. We actually just missed the podium. The car's looking good over there. I think there was 5 or 6 in our class, the GTB Pro, or actually it's the GTLM Pro class that we're racing in there. That was good. You know, the week before we also had, jumping back into IMSA, we had the race at Laguna Seca. That was also a 6-hour race. And surprisingly, we ended up 4th there as well, just off the podium. Of course, we had a balanced performance update that really slowed us down, but we did have some strategy, and that strategy was working there until later in the race where some traffic and some other things kind of went against us. But it just shows you, you know, even with some balanced performance updates and some things working against us, that anything can turn and go right in racing. It's a good thing. Now both teams are going to be back together again for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That happens June 11th and 12th. I think that's right around the time when we're going to be talking again. We're doing news and headlines, so we might have to do a special Le Mans issue there.
That would be cool, and it's less than a month away. That's amazing.
Yeah, always Le Mans is so fun. They finally got it back in June where it belongs. It's been 2 years. They've been moving around because of COVID. Last year, they had some limited fans back. This year, it looks like they're back to full strength, so it's going to be an exciting race.
Can't wait for it. And speaking of just missing the podium, Keith, I saw that the number 3 Corvette just missed out on podium at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, I know. We just mentioned that again. And Laguna Seca is just such a fun track. You got the corkscrew. You've got that long straight that goes up the hill, and then all of a sudden there's that turn where you're not sure where people are. It's a cool track. Kudos to Corvette Racing. They're going to have to dig deep on some of these tracks. We are on a waiver. I always try to mention that. We're happy to be racing. They are going to try to slow us down somewhat because we are not a full GT3 spec car. But we've got 22 years of racing history behind us. We can adapt to just about any situation. We take no prisoners once we hit that track. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about for sure. I was so excited to see this, Keith. The new 2023 C8 Z06 will be the official pace car at the Indianapolis 500.
I don't want to say I was too surprised. I actually thought that it would be the 70th anniversary car, which this one is, but they did decide to go out with the Z06 as opposed to the Stingray. Pretty exciting news there. We'll have the Z06 official pace car. It's done in the tricolor white anniversary colors, but it's got a really cool livery. It's got a red stripe going across one side of the body stripe package there. The other real cool surprise is that instead of the regular black LT6 intake manifold cover that sits on top of that engine, we have a edge red color. And we've seen that before only on an engine stand, like right during the reveal of the car back in October. But we've never seen an edge red intake manifold in the car itself. That is really cool there. And I know people already were saying, boy, it would be cool if they offered that as a package. We haven't heard anything yet. We doubt they will. Usually they don't come out with anniversary or packages after the fact, which would be what would happen if they came out with a Z06 pace car, in August or September. The race was 3 months ago. I doubt we'll see that, but a really cool livery. Great to see the Edge Red package in there. The driver of the pace car this year will be former IndyCar racer and team owner Sarah Fisher. She is the, quote, fastest woman in Indianapolis 500 history, and she has 9 starts at the 500 between the years 2000 and 2010, which is also a record for female driver. Pretty exciting stuff. We'll see the green flag on Sunday, May 29th, around noon, I believe, on ABC television. So, yep, Corvette Z06 is the official pace car of the greatest spectacle in racing.
You know what, Keith? I ought to give her a call and see if I can ride shotgun with her that day.
That would be a blast. I generally think they do like 3 different pace cars. They'll do the official one, and then there's a couple others. Generally, the winner receives one of those pace cars. Pretty exciting race, and things just got a little bit more interesting for those IndyCar drivers that now have a shot to actually win a Corvette Z06 pace car.
I know. That's a great prize. I love that. Speaking of the Z06, Keith, it looks like the exported versions of the Z06 will not have the center-mounted exhaust. They'll have the corner-mounted exhaust, just like the Stingray. Isn't that correct?
This is correct. And in fact, this was a story that we broke. I've actually been chasing this down for about a month and a half now, maybe closer to 2 months. It just did not make sense. Okay, so when we first started seeing these, they were generally covered in the camo still. Right around the time of the reveal back in October, we saw some videos of the Corvette engineering team driving some influencers at Milford. Those had the corner-mounted exhaust. We were told that those are older. But what really got me is we started seeing newer cars that still had the corner-mounted exhaust, cars that had the chrome badges. We saw a Z06 right-hand drive version in a parking lot up in Detroit with the outboard. So something there wasn't lining up. So we actually got to talk to some of the GM people down at the bash, and they actually said, no, it's not really a secret. It's just not really that fun of a story to tell. But what we're seeing is that those corner-mounted exhausts contain these gasoline particulate filters. We have these on the Stingrays going to Europe. They're going to Australia. And what they do is they basically, just as they said, they're a filter for gasoline that helps to filter out some of the impurities, then they burn them off. They're heavily required in Europe. That's one of the big things is why we won't see the quad center mount exhaust exported to probably any other regions except the Middle East.
Interesting. Also, it looks like you can't get the high wing spoiler on the Z06 without ordering carbon ceramic brakes. Is that true?
Yeah, again, another confirmation from the NCM Bash. If you're in the visualizer and you're adding a high wing spoiler to a non-Z07 Corvette, you're going to get a pop-up box that said you are required to add carbon ceramic brakes and metallic gray brake calipers. So that was really confusing to quite a lot of people. Yeah, that's what we learned is that when the Z07 package, both of those are included, the ceramic brakes and the high wing are included. But in the non-package, you can still add the high wing, but the second you do that, you got to add the CCBs. We think that it just has to do, again, with maximizing braking, but also the balance of the cars. They've really spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel. So if they think that you need the carbon ceramic brakes with that high wing, that's what you're going to get.
There you go. Also, Keith, the 2023 Stingray and the Z06 owner's manuals are available for download. That's kind of like putting the cart before the horse, isn't it?
Just a little bit. We were glad to see it. The first thing we did once we downloaded it was we did a keyword search of it. Came up with 44 instances of Z06 information. Another keyword search for Z07 just brought us 4 pieces of information. Inside this owner's manual, there's a chart there for the recommended aerodynamic configurations for the Z06. There's a carbon fiber wheel cool down procedures if you take your carbon fiber wheels to the track, even more on the underbody strakes and some of the other things that we're learning about on the car. So pretty interesting. It's detailed. It's information that's out in advance, but in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not any kind of big leak or anything like that. I don't think we came up with really any huge news from it. It's just interesting, like you said, that it came out before the car itself.
I think for me, if I started reading through that, I would want a Z06 even more than I do right now, and I really want a Z06 very, very badly.
Exactly. Well, demand is high. We know that for sure.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that in the third segment of our podcast. Let's take our final break, Keith, and we'll do that. We'll talk about the lighter side of Corvette coming up next on Corvette Today.
Are you ready for a better insurance policy without the Corvette tax? With Agreed Value Protection, the value of your collector vehicle will never change. Plus, you'll save money. Get a quick quote at ncminsurance.com.
Hey, honey, are you awake?
I am now.
I can't sleep. Since turning 50, I keep dreaming of a red door and a blue door, somehow knowing there are only choices for retirement.
Okay.
Through the red door, we outlive our money. We have to rely on our kids. We're stuck on a fixed income. It's terrifying.
Yeah, that would suck.
But through the blue door, our money outlives us. We retire on our terms. Our kids stay our kids, not our caretakers. We make work optional.
Yes, that's much better. That's what I want too. But what do we do?
We call True Wealth & Company at 913-653-8783. They specialize in helping successful people make work optional. They're our fiduciary Blue Door personal wealth managers.
Hey, where are you going? It's 3 a.m.
I can't sleep. I'm going to check out True Wealth & Company online at retirewithtrue.com. That Blue Door is going to be our retirement.
913-653-8783. Visit us online at retirewithtrue.com. Investment advice offered through True Wealth & Company, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas.
American Hydrocarbon is your one-stop shop for custom interior, exterior, and engine bay items for your C4 through C8 Corvette. We can help you create a custom look for your Corvette with carbon fiber or 10 different color patterns and styles. Whether it's a custom-made engine cover for your new C8 mid-engine Corvette or custom-made C4 interior upgrades, American Hydrocarbon can help you transform your Corvette into a best-in-class show car. And now we're proud to announce that we can produce and distribute officially licensed GM products for the C8 Corvette. That includes the front splitter, side skirts, engine appearance panels, and engine fluid caps. Plus, we now also carry the C8 Speedline side skirts along with the engine appearance package and high wing. Our products have been featured in Vette and Corvette magazines. Give us a call, 813-476-5638. Visit our updated website at AmericanHydrocarbon.com or email us at pat@AmericanHydrocarbon.com. Let us help you make your Corvette the car you've always wanted it to be. American Hydrocarbon.
Stretch the life of your Corvette's paint with Nova Stretch, the performance protective cover. From bugs to rock chips, Nova Stretch covers protect your C5 through C8 Corvette, utilizing stretch fabric technology and an innovative fastening system for quick installation and easy removal and storage. Made in the USA for a tailored fit, the patented design and breathable mesh protects your Corvette without rubbing or chafing the paint like traditional covers. And unlike clear film or old-time car bras, Nova Stretch provides full front-end coverage including the grille, keeping radiators and heat exchangers clean and debris-free. Visit novastretch.com and use the code CORVETTE15 to get 15% off your order. Protect your Corvette with Nova Stretch.
And now, back to Corvette Today with your host and my husband, Steve Garrett.
Hey, thanks once again for listening and viewing Corvette Today, the podcast that talks about everything Corvette. Brought to you by Mid-America Motorworks. Car show season is here. Get your Corvette ready by shopping over 60,000 Corvette-specific parts and accessories at mamotorworks.com. I'm your host, Steve Garrett. With me every other week is my buddy Keith Cornett from CorvetteBlogger.com. We keep you current and up to date on what's happening with America's sports car. In this final segment of the podcast, we're going to talk about the lighter side of Corvette. This was really cool, Keith. Corvette Racing's drivers took a Stingray on the track there at Spring Mountain. That had to be fun.
Yeah, actually, they did a little bit more. So this is after last year's race at Long Beach. The Corvette Racing drivers, it was Tommy Milner, Jordan Taylor, Antonio Garcia, Nick Tandy. They were actually given Z51 Stingrays there at the track, and they drove 300 miles across California into Nevada to Pahrump, Nevada, where Spring Mountain is located. And then from there, they took the cars out onto the track. It was their first time to really experience the consumer side of the C8 Stingrays. They did this nice little talk afterwards, each of them talking about the car. If you want to know what professional drivers think about the cars that you're driving today, it's a cool video. And again, it shows the synergy between the racing team and the production team. And then, of course, what fans see as well as what they're seeing, too. Good stuff there. And I do appreciate the feedback from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to see that video, make sure you go to CorvetteBlogger.com to check it out. Also, the Corvette Hall of Fame inductees were announced at the birthday bash as well.
Yeah, this is good news here. We've got Ed Welburn, retired vice president of GM Global Design. And so they usually have like 3 different levels. They'll have like a GM person, a racing person, and then enthusiast. So Ed Welburn was the GM person. For the racing selection this year, Gary Pratt and Jim Miller of Pratt & Miller Engineering. They are the company behind our racing team for the last 23 years or so. We've had a couple drivers make it into the Corvette Hall of Fame, but it's great to see Gary and Jim make it as well. Without them, our Corvette racing program would probably be a lot different. Very well deserved for them. And then finally, in the enthusiast category, again, another person that's been lacking is Elfie Arcus Duntoff, the first lady of Corvette, the wife of Zora, has been selected in the enthusiast category as well. Great to see both of them back together again, of course, with Ed and Gary Pratt and Jim Miller as well. So a good class of 2022. They will be inducted in September. Just as another comment here I want to make, they've actually changed the system for how these are done now, and it's pretty cool. Again, I think you can thank Sharon Browner, the new CEO of the Corvette Museum, for this idea. Before, it was all done behind closed doors with a committee receiving the selections and then voting and then choosing. What they do now is they've got a committee that brings all the people in and puts them together, and then they put it out to a vote with 100 different Corvette experts choosing the final inductees. It brings in more outside influences to that. We saw the first one here. So I think all 3 selections are fantastic. Again, we'll see them inducted in September 2022.
I like the new updated way to do things. That's pretty cool. Speaking of pretty cool, also the C8 Corvette was the Autocar 2022 Dream Car of the Year. Another accolade for the C8.
It is. And you know what we're seeing now is the 2022s were really the first cars to be exported. We're seeing these cars now honored in these different markets. This is Autocar, which is out of the UK. And they called this their dream car, saying that Chevrolet really got this one right. Fun to see there. Any of these awards coming out of England, coming out of Europe for the new car really do mean a lot to the team. And so we're anxious to continue to follow these and see what happens.
Absolutely. Also, if you listen to podcast number 106, you'll find Jordan Lee, who is the Global Chief Engineer for small block engines for General Motors, and his Assistant Chief Engineer, Dustin Gardner. Jordan was at the birthday bash, and he talked about how vibrations were wreaking havoc on the development of the new LT6 engine. That was really cool to hear about.
Yeah, these behind-the-scenes stories are always fun to hear, and you only get them at events like the NCM Bash. When Jordan Lee's coming down, that's definitely something you want to take a listen to and watch. It's kind of a fun story in a way. You think about it, it probably wasn't too fun to them, but they were telling a story about back in the day. Ford also had a flat plane, 5.2-liter V8 engine, and they had a story about the vibrations on the engine actually spun off the oil filter. The GM engineers thought, well, that was a pretty funny story. Ha, 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 that'll never happen to us. And then it happened to them. Jordan says that they had the engine on a dyno, and sure enough, they go in there, it failed, and the oil filter's on the floor. So they thought, well, maybe somebody forgot to tighten it. So they tightened it on the next engine, actually put some safety wire on it and put a camera on it. And sure enough, as they spun up that engine, the oil filter starts to rotate off the car. He says it was a real bear dealing with vibrations. They actually spent over 5 years really trying to work with this engine and get it right. And he says the good news is today you'll never know it when you're driving your car because the attenuation of the vibrations at the engine mounts is stellar, according to Jordan Lee there. Just another piece of the story, threaded fuel injected connectors were being shaken apart because of the vibration. So things that you would think, oh, we put these things together, they work fine, they always work fine in the past. Now they had to take a look at everything because of what the vibrations were doing. Over 5 years of development to get the engine to where it is today. Pretty exciting stuff there. And again, we're just really excited to get consumers in this car. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, hopefully sometime this summer.
That's right. And speaking of the LT6, Keith, we had a poll that said 80% of the respondents would take that LT6 in red if it was offered. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's the first thought when I saw the LT6 in red on the Indy 500 pace car is, wow, if they're doing a red one here, and we've seen the silver one as the cutaway, so there's 3 colors there, and it's the same colors they offer on the Stingray manifold covers. So let's do a poll. We had over 640 votes, so that's a pretty good sample size. 80% said edge red, 12% said silver, and only 7% said black. So I guess, Chevy, if you build it, they will buy it.
That's awesome,
right?
buddy. Yeah, absolutely
Yep.
right. And finally, our last story, I think we've hit a new high. Actually, I think it's kind of a new low. A Chevrolet dealership was asking $100,000 over MSRP for the upcoming C8 Z06. Why?
It's a pretty crazy number. I mean, we've heard 50. We've actually, I think, heard 75, $100,000. So this is Demet Chevrolet out of Clearwater, Florida. So they're in my home market. They're across Tampa Bay from us. That's what they said. There was an email that's going around. It was on Reddit. And I feel bad for some of these salespeople because, it's not the salespeople waking up one morning and saying, I think I'm going to charge $100,000 over MSRP. It's coming from management. It's coming from the dealer's owners. So this guy had the unfortunate task to go back to somebody asking, what position am I on the list? To say, you're not on any list. And in fact, we're charging $100,000 over. It really does give Chevrolet dealers a bad name. And not just this one, all of them.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. Are they cutting off their nose to spite their face? I kind of hope, though. In my blog post, I said, you take all your car buying elsewhere. There's 3,000 Chevy dealers in this country. You're going to go to the one that wants your business, not just the one that wants to take your money. I don't think that we've seen the end of it. I've heard people saying that some dealers are going to charge double. If you have a $100,000 car there, you can see $100,000 MSRP. I mean, it's going to be crazy. I don't think there's going to be any kind of resolution from General Motors on how to stop this because they are independent businesses. They keep telling us they're independent businesses. It's just really unfortunate. And it's a black eye for all those involved.
That's absolutely right. Once that car is built and it's shipped to the dealership owns that car. They can charge any price they want, irregardless of what Chevrolet says, unfortunately. So that's what we're stuck with.
Yeah, and when you have people that are willing to buy it for $100,000 over, there's really no reason not to sell them for that much, right? Especially some of the dealers that don't specialize in cars. They look at it as a once-in-a-year gift, I guess, or the money train has come in. It's unfortunate. Again, we wish that GM would be able to come up with something, but they're in a tough spot as well, so I don't know what to say.
Absolutely right. Don't forget, if you want to get a deeper dive into any of these stories that Keith and I talk about on the podcast, you can always go to CorvetteBlogger.com and get the full story. Buddy, thanks for being here. See you in 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, coming up next week, Todd Cooperrider from Esoteric Car Care will be back on the podcast. Todd was like podcast number 5, but he's coming back to talk about paint protection film and ceramic coating on next week's show.
Oh, that's always a hot topic. I'll have to make sure to listen to that one.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Appreciate it, Steve. Thanks so much. Everybody out there, keep waving. Corvette Blogger, we love to have you guys with us. We're here for you, and we just appreciate you so much. Again, all the stories that we talked about today are on CorvetteBlogger.com. And again, thank you, Steve, so much for the opportunity to be on the podcast.
Thanks for listening to Corvette Today. And please be sure to tell your family, friends, and other Corvette enthusiasts about the Corvette Today podcast. And also, thanks to our sponsors, Mid-America Motorworks. Car show season is here. Get your Corvette ready by shopping over 60,000 Corvette-specific parts and accessories at mamotorworks.com. American Hydrocarbon at americanhydrocarbon.com. True Wealth & Company at retirewithtrue.com. Also, Aerolarri Wheels. Get $100 off your purchase with the new promo code CT111 at aerolarri.com. Also, Nova Stretch Bras. Use the code Corvette Today 15 and get 15% off your total purchase at novastretch.com.
You've been listening to Corvette Today with Steve Garrett. If you'd like to contact Steve with any thoughts on the podcast or ideas for guests on Corvette Today, you can email him at stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. That's stevegarrettdj@gmail.com. Garrett has 2 R's and 2 T's. Or connect with Steve on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using @SteveGarrettDJ. Thanks again for listening to Corvette Today.